Nephilim, Nephilim, Nephilim. That's a fun word to say, isn't it? But why are we talking about that today, and what does it have anything to do with the Bible? Well, hello, my name is Pastor Doug Thomas, and this is Coffee and Conversations. Well, welcome again to today's episode of Coffee and Conversations. It's been a couple weeks since we've been able to post a video. I'm sorry about that. Things have gotten really crazy and hectic, and life just kind of happens sometimes. And we weren't able to put out a video for a couple of weeks, but we are ready today. We have a question that has been given to us. And that just reminds me, if you've got a question about faith, you have a question about God, the Bible, and you'd like to be able to submit that question, you can do it in a few different ways. If you're in the church building, you will see cards like this that says, got questions about faith. You can fill those out and drop them in the boxes. If you're online with us right now, which, I mean, you are online. That's the only way you're seeing this. If you're on our YouTube channel, just click subscribe down on the button below, and the comment box should pop up. If you're on our Facebook page, there should be a comment box below this video, and you can type in your question about faith, and we would love to be able to get those for you. Or you can go right here to office@auburncn.org, to our email address, and email us those questions, and we would love to have the conversation. Well, let's get into it today on this episode of it. Well, today's question is a great question. It's an academic question, and I love these questions because it just makes us dig deeper down into the Word of God. So today's question says, who are the Nephilim? Who are the Nephilim? And how are there so many descendants from one family without genetic issues? This is a great question. The Nephilim. You know, the Nephilim is only mentioned twice in the Bible. Once in Genesis chapter 6, and then another one in Numbers, I believe, 13. And really the reference in Numbers chapter 13 is really a reference back to Genesis chapter 6. And so let's see what the Word of God says here about the Nephilim. It's Genesis chapter 6, starting at verse 1. It says, when human beings began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of human were beautiful, and they married any of them that they chose. Then the Lord said, my spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. Now the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of man, or the daughters of humans, and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of the renown. Nephilim. A lot of people, as we know, and you research into this, the Nephilim were giants. They were tall, very tall and large people who were able to do many, many things as far as work and everything they were doing. But there is a lot of debate as far as who the Nephilim are. Where do they come from? Why were they so tall? How were they this kind of almost supernatural strength? What was going on? And who are the Nephilim? And why are they just really mentioned here in Genesis here? Well, there's a lot of theories. There's a lot of things that we can talk about. There's 4 theories in particular about who the Nephilim are. And these theories are popular whether they're in Christian circles, the church, or scholars. There's a huge debate on all 4 of these. And so I just thought I'd give these out to us today as we have a conversation. The theory number 1 of who the Nephilim was that they were fallen angels, and they had children with the daughters of men, or they had children with the daughters of the humans, which resulted in kind of this part human, part supernatural being, the Nephilim. This is a theory that is held mostly by people who attend church and within the church realm, that these are fallen angels who came to the earth and ended up having children and marrying these daughters of men. You know, some have said that really there's a problem with this particular theory just because over in Matthew, as Jesus is talking, they're asking the Pharisees are asking Jesus about marriage in heaven, and he says, "Well, no one will be married, no one will be given in marriage, just like the angels aren't." And Jesus references that the angels do not get married, and they don't reproduce, and they don't do any of those things that we humans do. However, these would be fallen angels. These would not be ones that are focused on God anymore, right? They are not in heaven anymore. So we're not too sure about how, if a biological change could have taken place, spiritual, whatever that could be. But the first theory says that it's fallen angels. The second theory that we see, which is more popular among the scholars and Christian circles in general, says that they are demons, the Nephilim are demons or fallen angels that possessed men, and then they had children with these women, with the daughters of men, resulting in the Nephilim. Basically, what this is saying is that men were possessed by these demons or these fallen angels, and then they had children with these women. Which really brings the question up is, does demon possession happen? Can a person be possessed by an evil spirit? One of the things that we know is over in the New Testament, in the book of Luke in particular, and in Luke chapter 4, we see twice that there were people who were possessed by evil spirits. Some translations say the demons, and Jesus drove them out of the people, right? And so this particular theory says, well, men can be possessed by evil spirits, and then this is kind of where the fallen angels then took over them and indwelled inside of them. And as you think about this, sometimes, we think about, well, are these people that was living back at that day, or were they completely focused on God? I mean, can a person who is living for Jesus Christ, can a person who is loving God with everything they are be possessed by a demon? And I believe the answer to that question is no, because if you're focused on God and you're living for Him and you're all out for Him, His Spirit's going to live inside of you. Unless you shake your fist at God and you renounce God and you turn your back on God, then that's where the evil can come into. But that's the second theory that is stated here. The third theory is held a little bit more by scholars, theological scholars that look into this. And this is called a Sethite view. This one, it defines the sons of God, these people, these men that had children with the daughters of the human race. It defines the sons of God as the righteous line of Seth. Now, this is really interesting. Seth is in that family line of Jesus, right? Some of the scholars feel like that what happened here is you had Seth and his family lineage, and everyone that was born into his family and later. And then you had Cain, who was actually Cain's brother. You might remember him from Cain and Abel, and later on comes Seth, right? And if you remember that story about Cain and Abel, Cain is the one that cheated God out of the sacrifice. Cain is the one that basically did it his own way, and he didn't listen to God at all. He cheated God out of that. And so therefore, Cain's descendants and his family line, his kind of went more towards the evil side of everything and did not follow God really at all. And yet Seth's family lineage did. And so some of the scholars say that what happens here is somewhere down the line, you have Seth, you have Cain, and somewhere down the line, Seth's boys or great-great-great-great-great-grandsons would have married Cain's great-great-great-great-granddaughters. And it would have been this kind of intermarriage there where Seth's line here and Cain's line and good and evil coming together. Some of the scholars have even said that this would maybe in a way that even the enemy, Satan, would want to try to mess up some kind of a family lineage of Jesus to stop the Messiah from actually coming. And the fourth theory that we see off of the Nephilim is a view that's held by a very few minority of people, but it still kind of floats out there if you do some research about it. And it would say that the sons of God were just simply fallen men, people who did not trust in the Lord, the God, anymore. And in fact, if you kind of look at this, theories 2, 3, and 4 really interrelate with one another, and you can kind of see how all of these kind of actually go together in the midst of it. So knowing all four of these theories, Who are the Nephilim? You know, it's hard to say. I don't have a good answer for that today. I think that you can see a side and you can pick a side and you can see something else. You can pick another theory and you can combine certain theories. And, you know, I do kind of wonder, I kind of thinking that these were men who were not following after God whatsoever. And they ended up marrying women who did. And then it just kind of, it's interesting. So I don't think there's a great answer for us today, but some really wonderful thoughts and conversations and things that you can research there. But here's the second question that we see. It says, how are there so many descendants from one family without genetic issues? Great question. The answer I would give to that is God, right? I mean, we know God can do anything, and we know nothing is impossible with God. But here's the interesting thing that I find. If you go to Genesis chapter 6, where the Nephilim are mentioned here, and you back up just one chapter to Genesis chapter 5, what we see is the lineage from Adam all the way down to Noah. Now, you read that lineage, and when you read that, it's about 32 verses. Right, so that, you know, it may take you about 5 minutes to read. But do you know that between the time frame between chapter 5 and chapter 6 is a whole lot longer than 5 minutes? I mean, as you look at it, it talks about that when God created Adam and Eve, and when Adam had lived 130 years, he had a son named Seth, which we talked about in one of these theories, right? He had a son named Seth. Now, Seth had lived 105 years, and he became the father of Enosh. And when Enosh had lived 90 years, he became the father of Kenan. And this goes on and on and on, all the way down to Lamech, who lived 182 years. And at that time, he had a son at 182 years old, and he named him Noah. And then verse 32 says that after Noah was 500 years old, he became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And then we flip over to chapter 6, and we start with the story of Noah after his sons are born. Do you know how much time frame comes through in chapter 5? You add up all of the years that you see there, and it's 1,556 years. Wow. 1,556 years. By the time this person had this son, he was this age. And then by the time this person had this son, he was this age, and then this age. And when you add all those up, it's 1,556 years. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of family lineage that keeps going down over and over and over, so much so that I would think that any genetic issues would be gone by that time. And when they begin to marry, it was kind of such a long time frame away. So it's very good, very interesting. And I want to invite you to do some research on your own. I want to invite you to start looking into the Nephilim, start looking into some of these things, and begin to see what you come up with. And we'd love to hear from you. If you want to email us or call us, or you want to put a comment in one of the comment sections below on some of the things that you have found, we'd love to continue this conversation going with you. So, well, thank you for joining us today. Please make sure you're submitting some more questions. I believe we have one more that we will do next week. And we are looking at starting a new video series as well. We're going to keep Coffee and Conversations, but we're going to look at starting another video series, and we'll bring you up to speed with more information when we have that ready for you. Well, thank you, and have a great day today.